Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me this evening, this Saturday evening, Saturday, the 3rd of May 2025. And I want to thank those who are joining me on Instagram, those who are joining me on Facebook, those who are joining me on YouTube, and those who are joining me on Facebook as well. Thank you so much. And tonight is Saturday night, which is normally typical, what do you call it? Talk and sip Saturday night. But I've sort of, over the years, after being doing the lockdown period of having this sort of concept, and of course, always try to have a drink on a Saturday night. And when I say a drink, it's nothing too strong, and I do not like to say the word because TikTok tends to get a bit carried away when I say I'm going to have a drink. And when I have a drink, TikTok will sort of send me some restrictions. So I'm not going to say anything about what I'm drinking also. But I have something like, what should I say, some sparkling water and also a dash of something else as well. And I encourage you and I ask you to join in as well as to tell me what you are drinking. If you're in Jamaica, what sort of concoction? If you're in Burkina Faso, if you're in Nigeria, if you're in Ghana, and wherever in the world you are, what you are drinking. Well, ladies and gentlemen, listen, without further ado, let me go straight into it. Hands off IBRHAIM TRAORE. IBRHAIM TRAORE of Burkina Faso. There's been a lot of demonstration over the past few days which has taken place. And it is very interesting what I've been seeing, and I must say, since I've been doing my show, I've been slightly getting a bit annoyed personally, because every week when I've been in the discussions, especially on my show regarding the UK, it is centered around three things: centered around the Oval Office, it is centered around what is happening in Ukraine and Russia, it is centered around in the Middle East, it is centered around right now the elections. But there's something else which is happening out there. And I believe with the advent of Trump also, it is an opportune time, I believe very strongly, for the African nation to rise and pull together magnificently and powerfully. And I've been watching the whole advent of Captain IBRHAIM TRAORE of Burkina Faso. And I saw some good demonstration which was happening. And well, I'm just gonna play one of them, and just to sort of give you an idea.
IBRHAIM If I can get the front of this, see where I can. IBRHAIM TRAORE. Yeah, I'm going. So we're live. So we are U.S. Embassy, right in Jamaica. Every Rasta there. And we are sending a message to America. Enough is enough. We don't not touch IBRHAIM TRAORE. We don't not touch him. We don't use Obama. And we don't bomb up it. We don't bomb up down so and take the Gaddafi from it. We don't not touch IBRHAIM TRAORE. And enough more people want to touch it.
Well, I'm hoping to have Mr. Marvin Fire, hopefully tonight as well, to come on from Jamaica, because there are marches in Ghana, there are marches in London, there are marches in Nigeria, there's marches in Jamaica, and there's a big march in France as well. And I was trying to sort of get someone from all different regions as to what actually was happening there in the world. And And when I was looking and I was thinking about this whole thing, about IBRHAIM Traore. Yeah. IBRHAIM Traore is Burkina military officer and a politician who has served as the interim president of Burkina Faso since October 2022 after leading a coup that ousted his predecessor, Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba, born on 14th of March 1988 in Kera, Bondaka Department, Burkina Faso. Traore began his career in the military after studying geology at the University of Ouagadougou, where he was active in student associations. He joined the army in 2009, trained at the Georges Namia Military Academy, and participated in United Nations peacekeeping missions in Mali before returning to Burkina Faso to fight in counterterrorism operations against jihadist insurgents. He rose to prominence within the military due to his frontline experience and growing disillusionment with the government handling of the country's security crisis. In September 2022, amid mounting dissatisfaction with Damiba leadership, Burkina Faso deteriorating security situation, Traore led a group of younger officers in a coup, becoming the head of the patriotic movement of safeguard and restoration, and subsequently the interim president. And since taking power, he has positioned himself as a revolutionary and Pan-Africanist leader. Now, why was these marches recently? They said the marches were in support of Mr. Traore across West Africa for 3 reasons: solidarity against coup attempts, the immediate trigger for the recent mass rallies was the announcement by Burkina Faso's military authorities that had foiled a major coup attempt on April 21st, 2025. Supporters mobilized to show their backings for Traore and to signal their rejection of any effort to destabilize his government. Many see Traore as a symbol of Burkina Faso's sovereignty. There's also the opposition to foreign interference. Protesters are also marching to denounce what they perceive as foreign interference in Burkina Faso's affair, particularly from Western nations. And recent comments by U.S. General Michael Langley accused Traore of using the country's gold reserves for personal or junta benefit, which have fueled anger, galvanized support for Traore. Demonstrators have condemned such statements as neo-colonial attempts to undermine Burkina Faso's leadership and have called for respect for African sovereignty, support for Pan-Africanism, anti-imperialism. So in summary, the marches are a powerful show of support for the leadership, rejection of coup attempts, and foreign interference. And as a friend of mine said, his young daughter said, the reason people need to march is to let the world know that we are watching and that we can see. Now, I'm going to be having different guests tonight. I'm going to be having Miss Temi Adejon tonight. I'm going to also be having Brother Dulani, who is going to be coming on tonight as well. Brother Dulani served on the African Emancipation Day Reparations March Committee for over 10 years. Photographer, graphic designer, and printer, founder and director of African Development Enterprise. And he's a passionate advocate for the total liberation, reparation, and development of Africa and African people, ideologically, economically, and politically. He stands on the shoulders of our honorable African ancestors. And he runs a YouTube and a TikTok channel named Clear Thinking and Brother Dulami. Temi is a barrister, advocate as well. She'll be coming on tonight. And I'm hoping to get Marcus from the Marcus Garvey party in Jamaica, who's going to come on. Hoping to get Mr. Fire as well to come on tonight. And also maybe Mr. Matunda McCullough. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mr. Brother Dulani, and let's get the ball rolling. Sir Brother Delani. Where is he? Finally find it. How are you, sir?
Greetings. I want to
Greetings
greet you and your audience in the honorable spirit of our great and mighty African ancestors.
blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you so much for joining me, Brother Delani, African Reparations advocate. And ladies and gentlemen, I met Mr. Brother Delani for the first time today, seeing him, but we spoke on the phone and there's a connection. And I believe it's so important that we have this connection. I think, Brother Delani, it's a time we all cement each other, isn't it? Cement and link.
Yes, definitely, my brother. Yes, sir.
So tell us now, you're at the march. You're at the march recently.
Yes.
Tell us about it. And what was it?
Yeah. Well, it is a day, a global day of solidarity with the people revolution in the Sahel. Yes. Particularly in defense of Captain IBRHAIM Traoré from the imperialist attack and accusation. They setting the brother up for elimination. And we want the world to know that we would not stand by and watch you just take down another one of our leaders and one of our promising leaders who are coming to help to bring back a certain level of self-reliance, a certain level of taking back the sovereignty of African people. So yes, it was a momentous day, my brother. It was a day of joy. It was a day when you see all your fellow combatants on the battlefield, It felt like, we was preparing for something monumental, something great. Spirit was high. You can feel that revival that we needed, Master. It was well needed.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for that. Let me just bring in Temi Akinia. Temi, how are you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Welcome. Thank you for joining. And I believe you're there in the spirit, the march.
Yes, indeed. I wasn't there in the physical, but I definitely was there in spirit.
Yes. Well, I'm going to bring in someone from Jamaica who was there in Jamaica, live and direct. Mr. Action Now Jamaica, Mr. Uje. How are you, sir? Vice President of the DOP. You're there live, isn't it?
Yes, greetings. Yeah, greetings to your panelists and greetings to your audience.
Greetings, my brother. Greetings.
So Uje, you're there live in Jamaica at this event, isn't it?
Yes, so it was on the 30th, the other day. It started when we gathered down at Emancipation Park. This event was put on by the Rastafari Mansion organization. They are the organization that put on this function. And we started at Emancipation Park. We did a few Rastafari chants and, keep a vibration going and so on and so forth, standing in solidarity with our African nations, right? The vibe was good. We had our placards and we chant and we beat the drum, Nyabingi style, and the energy was good. We eventually moved on to Haile Selassie High School. After that, we went over there 12 o'clock because April 30 was the Founders Day for Haile Selassie High School. That's the only school that was gifted by His Imperial Majesty to the Caribbean. So we went there to celebrate with them in their Founders Day, as well as a significant occasion for Rastafari. And again, it's all about, Rastafari, it's all about patriotism, sovereignty, proudness as an African people, right? And the vibe was good as well. I get to meet the principal of Haile Selassie High School, and she's a very conscious, positive individual. I think I have not seen a principal so Black conscious in a very long time. She's really for the youths, and I mean, Haile Selassie High School needs our help. I was there, and they're having challenges because it's a school that seems to be blacklisted to me. The government not really supporting that school 100% as it would support a KC, a JC, or these other, upstanding schools. So we have decided as a Rastafari community to rally around the school and to have help the school to develop, right? But that's pretty much where my participation ended on that April 30, because the team went on to the embassy, the United States Embassy and the French Embassy, but I wasn't able to attend the embassy part. But I guess that is where things really picked up, and the fire was blazing based on what I...
Yeah, thanks for that. Marvin might come later, because Marvin was the one who was appointed to hand the letter to the embassy, at the French embassy. But let's start now. Temi, what do you understand IBRHAIM TRAORE to be, and why do we believe? And I'm going to go around to different persons. Why do you believe this march was significant? I must say I got a message that someone said, and I'm gonna read this message here that someone said, and this is a message that the person said. Why do you and others feel that the world need to be appraised of the happenings, the progress, the strategies, and empowerment of Africa and its people? Headlines. Haven't we learned anything? Haven't we realized that the less the world know, the better it is for progress? The quotes, heights by great men reach and kept were not attained by sudden flights, but while the colonizers slept, we toiling upwards through the nights. What he's saying is move quietly. What do you say about that, Tim?
And I understand the sentiment totally. I understand the sentiment totally in terms of moving in silence and not letting, your historical and current day opponents know your moves, and thinking 2-3 moves ahead. I get it. But the reason why I think it was still significant, what happened on the 30th of April, is because I think it still sent a message that, look, we're not just going to, stand by and watch while you do what you have always done in terms of demonizing any leader from Africa that has shown fortitude, that has showed an interest in the control of his own resources and using it for the benefit of their populace. For a leader who is not interested in serving colonial interests, right? It's a difficult one because, as I said, I understand what that person is saying, and I actually agree to some extent. But at the same time, with the advent of social media and things like that, it's actually been a benefit, right? People are becoming more informed. People are becoming more aware, both on the continent and the diaspora. You've got to understand is that, the media have fed the diaspora and even on the continent very, very fixed pictures of Africa, African leadership, and all of those things. And they've never told the actual, you're never going to expect them to tell the full story about what has really been happening, what the real reasons for the condition of Africa and why it has not progressed in the way it should have done since countries became independent, right? You're not going to get that from mainstream sources, right? And what social media has been able to do is galvanize youth, galvanize populaces. We've not seen this kind of stuff for a long time. It's and so I think it's a bit simplistic to say, okay, we need to move in silence. I actually think it's very important that, it's made known that he has our support and he has global support and that the diaspora are with him, right? And we're not just going to, we know the game now. We know the game. And, it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to propagandize this particular position anymore, right?
So what you're is like the revolution shall be streamed.
In some ways, you know, it's inevitable the way things are now. You know, everything is streamed. You know,
Mm.
everything is streamed. You know, the ability to do things quietly. You know, this was really about people, right? I can't really, we can't really say what is going on behind the scenes when it comes to governments and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But what the people have said is, no, we support this man, right?
Yes.
And if you take him out, there are a million of us who will basically take up the mantle. No, we're not basically allowing your, you know, the usual story of getting a traitor to stab him in the back. You know, there was actually one of his soldiers, one of his right-hand men, because, you know, obviously Thomas Sankara was assassinated by his right-hand man, right, and who would then assume power. And on this occasion, one of his soldiers, one of his right-hand men, came forward and said, like, he was offered about 5 million to shoot him, to shoot Traore in the back, and he said, no, it's not that time. We're not in that time, you know. So, you know, I think the raising of awareness has been a good thing, all right, amongst, you know, the fact that from Jamaica to France to Nigeria to, I saw even in Ghana, the UK, New York, Uganda, you know, in so many places, right? How often have you seen that in your lifetime? So, you know, I think I get the point, but I think it's a bit bigger than that.
Yeah, let me go to Brother Delany, Sir Delany. What's your take on that message? That actually, my response to the person was, well, keep quiet then. That was my response to it. I just said, I was being facetious. I was like, you just keep quiet. Brother Delany,
I have a more tactical answer for him. There are certain things that will be done in private, and then there's certain things that will be done in openly. This is one of the open ones. We want to show open support for those who are willing to take this sacrifice, to take on that historical responsibility for forwarding the liberation of African people. We have to show them that we support them. They're not alone. And this is one of the greatest show of support and solidarity in our modern time. We have not had many leaders that have gathered this type of support around the world. The last time African people came out in these numbers was during George Floyd execution. This is probably one of the first time a global support of this magnitude for one particular leader. And I think that is significant because the brother have a mountain of opposition against him. The forces that are aligned against him are very powerful. And we cannot make no mistake about it. The sister mentioned about the Sankara situation, and we got many, you know, in Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, and on and on. We have seen when the forces decide to move against you, they don't play. And, you know, this brother have had many attempts on his life already. So every time it seems that someone rise to help lift us, to become a symbol of the hope and aspiration of African people, they seems to want to, you know, thwart that, smother that hope, that aspiration, and set us back another 50 years. We cannot allow that to happen. It is my hope that we can have 1,000 of IBRHAIM Traore. So if you eliminate 1, 10 replace him. That is the kind of condition we need to create amongst our people.
Thanks for that. It reminds me. Shall I say it? It reminds me of when they tried to like these Middle East countries and the terrorists or so. They always say that those guys is an ideology. You can't really get rid of them. It's an ideology that they live in. You know what I mean? To say if you get rid of 1, 10 more rise up or something like that. You know.
Right.
You know?
I mean, if you watch the movie called "The Spook That Sat by the Door," I don't know if you ever heard of that movie.
Yeah, I've watched that film.
Yes, where
Yeah.
the brother went to the training, just like Traore did. And instead of take the training and go serve master, he go and train his people and create an uprising all across America. That movie was banned, by the way, because of the implications of it. But these are the kind of
It was a great.
caliber
It
that
was
we
a
have
great.
to train and use.
Yeah.
Yes, my sister. Yes.
Yeah. Uj, what's your take on that bit there? I know you're a very person, you can't keep quiet.
I mean, I agree with the rest of the panelists. It's really a time to show global support for IBRHAIM Traore. Not that time to be quiet. He needs to know that Africans worldwide is in support of his leadership. The way in which he has challenged the traditional leadership of Africa, African countries, and I mean, personally, I feel proud as an African living in Jamaica. I feel proud to see such revolution happening. It is long overdue. Africa has been the feeding grounds for many developed countries, and the geopolitics is changing to really make Africans and the people of Africa really sovereign. And I mean, there are a lot of assassination attempts and a lot of things happening behind the scenes, but I know that they can't do to Ibrahim what they have done to, Thomas Sankara or to Patrice Lumumba, Stephen Biko. Worse, they can't even do like what they did to Mandela. They can't do this to Ibrahim, right? This things have changed, and I don't think I will sit in Jamaica and allow anybody to try to hurt this man. Me have to probably try to learn a little French now because me probably have to go down to Burkina Faso short order, right, to see if we can meet Ibrahim really and truly. But I am really proud, and I believe that as a people, we are still a bit distracted. While there are many persons who are focused on what is happening, there's still a massive amount of Africans who are still distracted. And we have to kill, or let me just probably change that word. We have to get away from this culture of disloyalty, because what really is happening, this culture of disloyalty has been eroding our ability to grow as a people. We're too easily, we easily be sell out or buy out. You understand? And as his right hand man was approached to sell him out, and he didn't fall for that, because again, we as a nation now, we as a people, we are getting rid of this culture of disloyalty. And I want that message to be absolutely clear. We're done with disloyalty. We are loyal to our race. We are loyal to our people, no matter the cost. That's the thing there.
Someone who's a regular attendee to the show sent me a picture of Thomas Sankara and herself. She was in Africa, in Ado some years ago, 1983, and here's a picture. Can you see it?
Oh, that's a lovely picture.
Yes, we can see.
That's great.
She was 17, and Sankara came over to her and so like that, and was mesmerized, as you can see all of them, and because of she's from Jamaica, and Bob Marley, I know what Bob Marley meant to them as well, and she said by virtue of such, Miss Rosemary Binder, by virtue of such, she has now really given her life over into justice and speak up for and being an advocate at the same time for injustice around the world. So I think it is very important what is happening now, and as I said, that I really want to sort of concentrate some of the time that I have left on this earth to see how we can develop, because with the advent of what's happening, we are seeing in the UK here now with the elections, and we can say, what is it? Wow, what's going on? What we're seeing, what's happening in America, we say, wow, what's going on? And then we say, hang on a second, but Africa has so much potential. Africa has so much wealth. Brother Delane, what would you say then is the essence and the message of IBRHAIM Traore Burkina Faso, what is it saying? What is the message that is sending to the African diaspora around the world? What is that saying? And I come to the rest of you guys after that same question.
I believe that the essential message is about African sovereignty, self-reliance, self-determination, self-control of our resources and our destiny. Ultimately, African people for the last 50 or 100 years have had to be subordinated to the will and whim of other people, other nations. We have to be taking dictates, and they're coming to define our economic policy, our political system, and how we should govern ourselves. It's time for us to have an African personality and African peoplehood, that we govern our society based on African values and African principle for the betterment of African people. There's no way a country as rich as Burkina Faso should only have 5 kilometers of roads. That's an insult. And France been there in that country for so long, extracting so much wealth out of that country. So it's about taking control, my brother.
You know, someone on TikTok says CFA Frank still allows the African nations to be controlled from Europe. You know,
That's right.
Yeah, tell me your take on that particular question there. What's the essence, the meaning, and what is the message that is supposed to be sending?
Well, I think from my point of view, I think it's very important, I think, particularly in the current climate in the West, that we look to Africa, you know. The liberation of Africa, really, from our point of view, from our diaspora point of view, when Africa is liberated, we all are. We don't then have to tolerate disrespect in the West. We don't then have to tolerate, all of this anti-immigrant sentiment. When they tell you to go back to your own country, you will gladly do so, right? You will gladly do so, because you have absolutely no need to be here. I mean, look at the state of the UK, if we want to really go there, right? And the only solution they can think of is blaming foreigners, the very people who basically propped up their NHS, their transport service, to do all the jobs that they don't want to do, right? Who have basically dealt with abuse. What I'm seeing here now is basically things turning it right back full circle to when my grandparents came here and what they had to endure and the kind of abuse they had to endure and the kind of attitudes they had to deal with. Why should we suffer that indignity? But we'll continue to suffer those indignities if we are not looking at the liberation of Africa, right? Because it is relevant for every Black person in the diaspora, right? It is directly relevant, right? Because a strong Africa means a strong diaspora. Automatically, the diaspora will benefit. We won't have, there is a reason why, even in America, for example, let's take America, for example, the police would never shoot an unarmed Chinese American, right? They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't shoot an unarmed Indian in America. They won't do it. Why? Because China is powerful, right? We're seeing what's happening with Trump trying to mess with the Chinese at the moment, and it's starting to backfire quite royally, right? But there are serious diasporan kind of consequences to the state that Africa is currently in. We may not see it, and we may not see the link, but we're all interlinked. So the strength of Africa, whether we like it or not, it is relevant to us out here. And so, that's another reason why I think that march was very significant, because we are now starting to understand the interconnectedness of it all.
Yes. Somebody just said a while ago, Traore has embarrassed the puppet African leaders who keep their people downtrodden as well. And someone on the just message saying the message is being faithful walking in courage, and being committed to our Black kings and queens. Yeah. Thanks for that, Temi. And Uche, what would you say then is that central message that is coming and emanating from Ibrahim Traore without him actually? Well, somebody said he sent a message through to people who are marching. But what do you see as a message? And what is it that drives you as well? And inspiring you in Jamaica as a young leader to liberate our people, Jamaicans, at the same time, because you said there's a level of captivity at the same time with a mindset.
Yeah, so I agree with Brother Dulani regarding to the message, right? It is similar to what Marcus Garvey, the message is similar to what Marcus Garvey was promoting in his time, right? Self-reliance, people power, people-centered leadership, right? Self-reliance, all of these things for a nation to be sovereign economically, culturally, and all the other aspects, right? That is the central message. Sovereignty of a nation. A nation should be able to stand on its own, right? And not face any form of, detriment if it decides to not participate in a particular global system, right? So that is exactly what Ibrahim Traore is setting out. He's making his nation, Burkina Faso, a country that is able to stand, right? Also, geographically, Burkina Faso is a landlocked nation, right? There's a lot of challenges when it comes down to trading and movements of goods and service and all of these things. And previous administrations never did much to really rectify that, right? Unlike a Jamaica, that is, we are not landlocked. We are in the Caribbean. We have no country that is locking us, right? But, right, the people of Jamaica, we are landlocked, right? Because the ports or our coastlines are controlled by Chinese and other powerful people. You understand? We don't really have access to our beaches and so on and so forth, right? For me as a Jamaican, I again stand in solidarity with Ibrahim because the same struggle that Burkina Faso has endured or is going through is one that is similar to Jamaica. And I realize that for most Black leadership countries, the same political structure is in place. They have this one puppet. It's just a puppet leadership that is just like, it's just prevalent throughout the Black nations. These leadership that just buy into the ideology of selling out the people, exploiting them, just for a few $1 billion in my pocket and my comrades, the people in my circle. And we don't care about the mass of the population. It's something that is prevalent in any Black leading country. You understand? And here in Jamaica is the same thing. We have a government who is oblivious to the real voice and the cries of the people. You understand? Burkina Faso just start build roads, right? Because Ibrahim Traore, I think he just signed a $234 million deal, inland deal, to start doing some roads and highways and trade and all of these things. Here in Jamaica, the roads are so bad. And we keep hearing about Spark program and nothing. The roads are horrible. They don't even deserve to be called roads. It's the same setup. And this country has billions, trillions of dollars sitting down on, right? But what our leaders do, they take these loans from the IMF, they take these loans from the World Bank, similar to what African leaders do. You understand? Check Kenya, how much money them owe to IMF. Check Nigeria, how much money them owe to the IMF. Check Ghana, how much money them owe to IMF. But they have the audacity to want to pressure Ibrahim, boy, he needs to step down because of what? Because he's doing good by his people? Because they are puppets and not ruling on behalf of their people? He should step down because he is stepping out of the corruption line that they are in? Nah, you understand? This kind of leadership.
What will you, yeah. What do you
This
say
kind,
about the fact that sorry, go ahead. Keep talking. Keep talking.
yeah,
You're saying you're finishing something,
I say that
action.
this kind of leadership, the leadership of IBRHAIM TRAORE, the leadership of Marcus Garvey, the leadership of Thomas Sankara, the leadership of Gaddafi, the leadership of Patrice Lumumba, these are the leadership that we need. And as her name is Temi, as Temi says, if Africa is free, then the diaspora will automatically be free. They keep the cradle of civilization in that unstable, chaotic state to keep the rest of us worldwide disorganized and chaotic. The moment Africa centralized and get organized is the moment where our global strength will just, elevate. It's simple as that.
Yeah. We have heard this a lot of times. We have heard this sort of same discussion a lot of times about a united Africa and about trusting the different leaders. And as what someone said earlier, is embarrassing lots of African leaders as well. How do you see then a way how? And I put that to Temi. How do you see a way how African leaders can pull together? And do you believe and do you think that CARICOM and African nations in this side of the world can also play a part in the process?
Absolutely. I think CARICOM can definitely play a part. CARICOM is part of the African diaspora. So I definitely think the CARICOM could play a part. I think in terms of African leaders, it's like has been said, Traore is definitely embarrassing quite a few, right? And a lot of them are, being exposed. And obviously their populations are being, are just becoming more and more impatient.
Yes.
You're seeing it in, Nigeria. I don't even want to go into it too much, but, what has happened, what has been allowed to happen to that nation, right? And I'm part Nigerian myself. So, it really, it needs a revolution. And I think, Traore is certainly the kind of leader that Nigeria needs. Certainly. If you want to talk about bad roads, the fact that there's still not proper running electricity, constant electricity, the fact that, there is so much talent in the country, but of course the brain drain continues. And, all the talent from Nigeria, oftentimes, as much as the talent is doing great things against the odds in Nigeria, there is so much talent that have had to leave Nigeria because of the leadership, because of how things have been allowed to deteriorate over the past, I would say, 30, 40 years, right? And it's just been constant. And, there's been a lot of, it didn't surprise me that there was 100,000 Nigerians marching as well, because it's very relevant to them. It's very relevant to them. Everybody is there. Everybody is watching. Everybody is watching. It's not a coincidence that Uganda marched either, because obviously you may know about what Bobby Wine has been trying to do there, right? And I know he even came to Jamaica and performed in Jamaica as well. Trying to get, there's a lot of dinosaurs in Africa holding on to power, holding on to that, old, not even dictatorial, because they're only dictatorial when it comes to their own people. But when it comes to obviously the Europeans that come there, they kowtow and bow and scrape. The inferiority complex is seeping through them, right? And that's the kind of leadership, right? I don't even want to call it leadership. I don't even know what to call it, right? And even you saw obviously what happened with Michael Langley and the things he's been saying. He's there in the Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, who's sucking up to him? President Ouattara of Ivory Coast. I mean,
So
really?
therefore, so the struggle is within. Then the struggle is very strongly within. At the same time.
It's definitely within. There's definitely within. You know what they say with if the within is strong, then the outside can't get to you. You know, so
Yes.
it's definitely that. But it's by design. But the people, the populace, they have a battle on their hands because they want desperately to get rid of that kind of leadership. They've had enough. They've absolutely had enough.
And Antoine Campbell, are you there? From the Marcus Garvey party.
Yes.
Antoine, how are you doing, sir? So like you're on the road or something like that.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for having me here. Are you hearing me?
We are hearing you. We're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Right. I want to thank you for having me on your platform. Thank you for your listeners and your esteemed guests who are here with me.
And you're at the demonstration in Jamaica, Antoine. Yeah, Antoine, remind us what your position is with the Marcus Garvey party.
Right. So we have demonstrated at the National Heroes Park and later on joined with the Rastafarian Mansion and organization by the embassy. Myself and Marvin Edgar serve the letter to the ambassador at the US Embassy as well as the French Embassy. The UNIA was the champion. I would give the credit to the UNIA as being the champion of calling the demonstration at National Heroes Park. But overall, it was a success based on the attention of the media that we got on the social media platforms, as well as IRFM and so forth. So it was all in all a success.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. Just want to go to some comments here. There's gentleman here. Well, Lapidos Trading. I'm from Burkina Faso, and I thank God for giving us an all Africa IBRHAIM Traoré. He's building 5,000 kilometer route every year. New York City said, what we must realize, these changes are usually driven by youthful awareness and rebellion. Youths are no longer scared to confront leadership in Africa. Many pro-colonists are in their last days. And some guy Toronto says, biggest miners in Burkina Faso, Gold, Endeavor, Canada, no Russia. So I wanted to ask earlier about what do you think about the relationship? How does the panel feel about the relationship between Mr. Traoré and Russia, Vladimir Putin? Sir Delani?
Yes. Well, these are complex questions, and there is no simple answer. But I would say this, though, that when you decided to make moves like IBRHAIM Traoré is doing, you have to think strategically. You have to align yourself geopolitically. You need shield because remember, your enemy are very powerful. You need to make alliances that can guarantee some level of security, can shield you from certain attack. So the alliance with Russia is actually a strategic alliance that if you're moving, and one thing they will do, if you move alone, they will pick you off. You have to move together, collectively. If Jamaica move alone, they will eliminate Jamaica. But if Jamaica move with Trinidad and Grenada and Barbados and they move together, then it creates a different scenario. But we have to learn to move collectively, and that's one of the variables that you have to have in place when you decided to make revolutionary moves. You have to have strategic partners along the way. Ultimately, we're moving towards self-determination, but it's a process. It's a revolutionary process that we have to go through and navigate the different players and situation as we move towards our ultimate goal.
Do you believe that Black people, that we are sort of, I'm not going to use the word woke, but are we alive or awake to what is really happening? Because I was on a program today, and 90% of them were women. 90% of them were Black women, actually. You know, and
So like
talking
the
about,
church. So like he was in a church.
you know, but do you think that Black people are aware, are cognizant of what is happening, or I think action now, so something like there's a level of distraction which is in the air?
Is that for me or?
No, I put that out. I throw that one out. I throw
Yeah, I
that one
mean,
out.
to be honest with you, my brother, these questions you have to reframe these questions, because when you look at African people, you have to look at
Yeah.
us in the historical context.
Mm.
What you see today is a result of a history of at least a 500 years history of enslavement and colonization. Remember, our mind has been distorted, our psychology, our identity, our culture has been distorted.
Mhm.
So it leaves us in this state where it seems that we're all over the place. But there's a dynamic, because you have many of us that are conscious, and you have many of us that are still wondering and don't know what the heck is going on. And it is our duty to just understand the dynamic that we're dealing with, that our people do not necessarily have this information, that we have to do the educational work, we have to do the
Heavy
awareness
lifting.
work, and we have to frame it and bring our people up in consciousness about what's going on, because of the history. The neo-colonialists, they control the school system, and for the most part they control the media. And now with the advent of social media, is everything goes. The man in the corner is just as much as a film vice, as strong as a PhD candidate or a PhD person. So we have to be very careful. Our people are damaged. We have to acknowledge that there's a great harm have been done to our people, and that's why reparation is so important. We have to repair our relationships. We have to repair our institutions, and we have to repair our political system, and Africanize our lives, Africanize our society, Africanize our economics, and also our politics. For too long, we've been Europeanizing ourselves. We need to now repair that whole process and begin to revolutionize our lives, returning back to our African self.
I want to put this out also to the panel, to the persons out there on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube as well. It's a very interesting point you mentioned, Brother Delani, and I'm going to put it over to Temi. And the point is what you said about the damage, the bit about the scars of many years ago, which is sort of ingrained in our system and in our mindset. And therefore, I believe, like the advent of persons like Marcus Garvey, when Harriet Tubman was actually using that bit about if my people knew that they were in bondage, and that song that speaks about take my people with you, Tell me,
Yeah.
let's break it. Let's see if we can break this down a bit more, because the bit of I hear the bit about the scars, the bit about the history. It's like a blockage in a way. Some will say it's a chip on the shoulder. How do we rise above that then?
I think
I'm not saying you got the answer, because if you got the answer, maybe you wouldn't be you'd like that. Yeah, but let's
man, I wish I had the answer.
$4 million answer. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's see if we can dissect it at the same time.
but I mean, but the brainwashing has been it's been deep. It's been deep, and the trauma has been deep, and the things that we've actually encountered It's enough to break most people, right? And so we're dealing with that, right? The fact that we have been broken and we are now trying to repair ourselves. And every time we try to repair ourselves, they try to break us again. And it goes on and it goes on. It's been an ongoing thing. You know, we saw awakening in the 60s as well, you know, big awakening. And what happened? By one, those who were basically leading those awakenings were taken out. So, you know, there's always that kind of there's always been those kind of setbacks, but we can't stop. We can't stop. We have to keep going, because eventually we'll succeed. Eventually we will succeed. But the education starts at home, right? The education starts. We all have a duty to educate ourselves, and we don't have any excuses, because the education and the knowledge that we need is out there, right? Amos Wilson wrote a 900-page treatise called The Blueprint of Black Power. But how many Black people have read that, right? Would actually sit down and read that? And that guy was like, all the things that you're seeing now, right? He was talking about it to the letter 35 years ago, right? But how many of us know about him, right? And that's how many people have read The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that should have been compulsory in Jamaican schools, like without question, right? And that's what I'm saying. And what have we been learning? I know I didn't learn anything about myself. I went to Saturday schools, and that's how I learned about myself. I had a Pan-African mother. That's how I learned about myself, you know, who basically took the time to make sure that that was ingrained in me, right? That's what we have to do. It's our duty, right? That way, you're never going to grow up with any inferiority complex, because you know the truth, right? And what you're seeing, this is why, as much as I understand about the moving in silence, we can't, because there's been so much done. We have to basically teach each other, right?
Yes.
We have to make that effort. All of us have that duty, right? Because there are people who don't have that. They haven't had that liberty, or haven't had the privilege that I've had to be in the to be in the home that I've had, to have been given the knowledge that I've had, right? Because in their schools, they're still being taught a colonial education, right? They're still being taught, you know, you're hearing in, you know, in Nigeria, they were taught that Mungo Park discovered Nigeria. Like, what? You know, you hear Columbus discovered America. You're not learning about the truth, right? And that's what it's the brainwashing. And then we're basically absorbing that, you know, the whole time when you know, there was a time when obviously Black people were far more you know, about the collective, and that is how we were, regardless of what scars we had. We've always been about, you know, collective, the village raising the child. But because obviously we now, you know, this whole capitalist type of thing as well, where everything's about money. What have you got to do to get it? You know, basically, the more ruthless, the more psychopathic you are, it's actually something that's encouraged in the society, right? Now, we have to basically deal with all of those kind of like things coming at us, whilst educating ourselves, whilst educating our children. It's a lot, right? And obviously healing some of those scars, it's a lot, right? But we've got to do it. We've got no choice.
Yeah. So what we're seeing with the advent of the IBRHAIM TRAORE, it's a philosophical movement at the same time, which is awakening Black people. And then when we talk about like when we talk,
him.
yeah, and when we talk about like Black History Month or so like that, we need to move away from the Black History Month, but have it every month, something that you're being taught about every month, and understanding what
it needs to be in our homes 24/7. When we're learning, I learn all histories. I think it's very important to learn all histories, right? But the fact of the matter is, many of us are not learning our own history. We're learning everybody else's, and basically what everybody else has achieved, and not learning about our own, right? A lot of us don't even know, you know, people, you hear people coming up with things like, I'm not my ancestors. And that's such an insult to our ancestors and what they did. You know, people think that basically slavery ended because, you know, the benevolent Brits decided to abolish slavery. Wilberforce and so on and so forth. You know, people are taught that Haiti is this kind of like total like waste standard of violence and poverty, and not knowing that they've been punished for 200 years for daring to liberate themselves, right? For daring to liberate themselves, and that set a chain reaction, right? And the reason why slavery was actually abolished was because it was no longer profitable, because they were dealing with rebellions all over the place. And that was the real reason why they abolished it. They didn't abolish it for any benevolent reasons. And those are the things that are not taught to us. Those are the things that are not taught to us.
So there's
we're only taught about, look, that when what happens with white supremacy and so on, they never go away. They reshape and they shape shift, right? That's what they specialize in. So, right. So obviously they'll still look for a way to get you back, right? But the fact of the matter is, they wouldn't have given any independence to any nation if there hadn't been pressure and sustained pressure, right? But what happened obviously after that was that the people who had the liberation, the full liberation in mind, well, we'll just create some propaganda and have somebody, pay somebody to take them out.
A classic example is like France. A classic example is like France and Haiti, whereby Macron is now saying that they were really sorry about what happened with Haiti. Antoine, can I just ask you a question about this, Antoine? Antoine, are you there? Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Marcus Garvey. What's a drive regarding Marcus Garvey being taught in the schools in Jamaica, and if not in the schools, being taught and being revolutionized in the system of people, or people are more into what under my nose, I'm out.
Right.
What is driving the people?
Joke, eat that thing.
Right. Let me just say.
Let me take a sip too.
Yeah.
Go on, Anton. Go on, Antoine. Go on.
Yeah. We as Jamaicans in a serious problem. And why I said that is because during the protests for Burkina Faso, ones stopped me and asked, what's the protest about? And when I say, boy, it's for Burkina Faso, we stand in solidarity with IBRHAIM Traoré, 90% of the persons who I've interacted with don't know Burkina Faso nor IBRHAIM Traoré. So that tells me a lot. What it tells me is that our people don't have a knowledge of themselves or them history. And because of that, they are easily controlled, manipulated, and what we are calling in Jamaica, box boat. So the teaching of Marcus Garvey, and not only Marcus Garvey, but Black history, is very, 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 very imperative in our society. Because the destruction, the social decay in my peer group, with girls carrying themselves a certain way, boys operating a certain way in society, killing themselves, chopping the line, focus on trivial things and not economic and social issue. It's all because of lack of knowledge straight across the board. When I heard Mark Golding stood up in Parliament and say, if his administration win the next election, he will see to it that civics is brought back into school, and Garvey, and it's just gimmicks, political gimmicks, because it's not like the PMP just gonna come back in power. You understand? It's not like they are a new party and them coming with a new philosophy and a new objective. They had the power. They won office. Portia Simpson-Miller was the former prime minister. What did they do with the power they had? Nothing. So why should we now believe the words of Mark Golden when he said, boy, he's going to implement the teachings of Marcus Garvey. It's just gimmickry. And I tell you what, we, the PPP, have met with the Minister of Education back in those days. We have met with PJ Patterson. We have implored with them. We have interaction with them. We have asked them. We have even created a whole new curriculum, and we took it a bit further by saying we'll have persons from the UNIA around the world who will go into the schools and teach Marcus Garvey and and Black history for free. And they have denounced that. They have cast that away. Why? Simply because of the control of the mindset and behavior of our people in Jamaica. They understood, or they understand, that if we control the minds of people in Jamaica, then we'll keep them begging, keep them coming back, and we'll always get what we always got in the future, which is political power. So they will never do something like that. They will never implement Black history, implement the teachings of Marcus Garvey in school. Never. And I will say that, and I'll say that forevermore. But until we see the teachings of Marcus Garvey and Black history, powerful Black history man like Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Gaddafi, being taught in our school, then our culture in Jamaica will shift dramatically for the betterment of our society. So we have to keep the struggle, keep the fire burning. Day by day, we have to keep the fire burning, and we have to use what we already have, which is the social media platform. And right now we are trying to come up with the newspaper. We'll be printing newspaper and distributing it all across the 14 parishes of Jamaica. So we have to use the media to our advantage to push the message. But one day, I'm confident in the victory of
good over evil.
good over.
I was thinking this, ladies and gentlemen, because you mentioned about civics and you mentioned about Marcus Garvey, and I've been talking about this. Me and Uche, we've been talking about civics is taken out of school. So one of the things that I devised recently was teaching civics on social media, on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube, and I've had 4 classes so far. I'm calling it classes because I'm getting different persons to come on and to do a lecture. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have Miss Jeanette Calder from JAM, Executive Director for JAM, that deal with the measuring portal for Jamaica. Going to deal with civics and accountability. I had Miss Professor Rosalie Hamilton a couple of weeks ago talking about civics and the Constitution. Antoine, I think nothing is wrong.
Hold on, Silver.
Yeah.
While I commend what you're doing, and
yes,
it's a very great initiative, you have to understand what is taking place in Jamaica now. When I say that my peers is surrounded or find themselves in a social decay, it's not something that started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 5 years ago. Now, why I say that, if I am supposed to go on social media, which I'm on the radio every Monday, and I'm on social media doing it. But if I'm supposed to do that on social media, it won't create a dramatic effect or create a powerful impact that will move the behavior or the character of my peers. It has to start in the school system, because through the school system, a teacher get the opportunity to mold the next generation. It is through the system where persons, after leaving high school, persons operate in the manner which them get from the from the school system, whether it be from them peer groups or from the, you understand? So it is through the school system where we can remodel our culture. It is through the school system where we can shape the next generation and keep them focused and in tune into black liberation and black consciousness. It has to start from the school system. It has to.
And what do you say then is the blockage in the way of this now? Is it old politician them? Old pirate them?
we need a change of the constitution. That's what we need. We need a change of the constitution, because if the stance in which the people political party has taken is, even though, you know, persons in the party saying, boy, we should go and at least try for at least a seat or two in parliament, I understand that it's through the change of the constitution will bring a better Jamaica. And I'll tell you why. Because through the constitutional change, it will abolish the whole tribal system and the whole parliamentary structure. Because we will be saying that from the unions, we're giving the citizens the opportunity to elect their official through meritocracy. For example, the union, which the teaching union, they would all sit among themselves and choose the best person to represent us in Minister of Education. It is through the change of the constitution where the people will have the greater power, because in that same constitution, we will give the opportunity for the citizens to have a right to recall if them see where the president or the prime minister, whatever title they want put on it, not operating in a way that best serve the people. The people have a right to call for a recall or removal of that president or prime minister. We're not seeing that in today's society. We're not seeing that. We're only waiting 4 years or 5 years until we change them, or basically change food, but have on the same sack. You understand?
Anton, I want to move on from this point, but I just want to drop something here as to something which happened recently in the UK. And it wasn't a change of constitution, but the Conservative and the Labour Party has been government for years. And this party just came up out of the blue and actually is sweeping the whole place, called Reform. They actually won a safe seat, which was supposed to be a safe seat, with a majority of 15,000. They won it by 6 votes. They won over 600 and so councillors. They have got over 10 councils, which are controlled. And I'm not saying I'm agreeing with what the party is doing or whatever like that. I'm not saying I'm from Nigel Farage, but I'm saying third parties, and I've been saying it to Uche, and I've been saying it to a lot of you guys in Jamaica, which the third party factor. There is a possibility with strong conviction that it can make a dent eventually as well. And this is actually leading back, I believe, into the whole thing regarding Africa. Because, as you rightly say, it is to wake up the mindset of the people so they can understand who they are and that they are not being controlled, or there's not a massive line of people trying to go to America when America is trying to kick them out at the same time. Uche, isn't that line still long? Going to the American embassy? Is that line?
Yes, man. Yes, man. Yeah. People like wow every day.
You have to understand. You have to understand the corruption of Jamaica. Is people say Jamaica is not a real place. It's truly not. You have to understand the corruption, what it is. When you have the Governor General Glasspool can stand up in Parliament and make a bold statement as the PPP should never get power in this island. It speaks volume. When you have the political ombudsman now mesh with the EOJ, it speaks volume. When you have the EOJ, the persons who sit on the committee to approve a third party, comes both from PMP and GLP, it speaks volume. What volume it speaks? It speaks the volume of these persons, officials who are in power and the opposition will stop at nothing to eradicate an opposition, which is not from the colonial monarchy, they will go as far as even to kill their opponent. You
All right,
understand?
all right. Let's stop a second there, brother Delani. What I'm hearing from Antoine and about Jamaica, and I'm gonna link with somebody named Mia Motley in Barbados, and I'm gonna link with IBRHAIM TRAORE in Burkina Faso. Are we seeing whereby different leaders are embarrassing the leaders? Where Mia Motley may be embarrassing the CARICOM, the Andrew Holness, or so Burkina Faso, embarrassing those other leaders in Africa as well. And therefore, there need to be some sort of wake up call, because the people are somewhat oppressed indirectly by default.
Yeah, there is an element of that involved. Across Africa, they've been very silent. I don't know if you notice, many African leaders very quiet. No one is saying nothing. They're watching it. There's an element of that, but I would want to say this though, in terms of mounting a political movement or a third rail, it's extremely difficult. The advantage that you have in these society like Britain, America, across Europe, they have a boogeyman, they have a beating stick, they have a fear-mongering xenophobia that runs through the society. White supremacy is still an undercurrent. So all you have to do is target the foreigners.
Yeah.
Jamaica don't have the foreigner element to target. If you have a target and get the people then rail up against somebody and say, them are the enemy over there. So
the immigrants.
Trump did it to perfection. And Nigel Farage is now his little poodle, with them say he might try copy that playbook. And all across Europe, in Italy, in Germany, they use that same playbook. You target the foreigners, you rail up the population, you get the vote. It's a winning formula. In Jamaica, that dynamic is slightly different because the whole we are Jamaican. So if you go target your own people now, you have got to really come with a strong message. No, we must try to find a way to target imperialism and neocolonialism. We have to frame a message in the population to let know this ruling class, this capitalist ruling class, is running the society for the benefit of themselves. We have to have a situation where we can restructure the system, where the system benefit the people, the working people, and you have to come to them in a practical way. That's the only way you're going to gain power. You're going to have to challenge the existing power structure and the existing political party. You have to be willing to do the Jehovah's Witness work, door to door, parish to parish, community to community, and sit down and do the work. It's a lot of work involved, a lot of financing involved, a lot of sacrifice involved. That's why many people take the revolutionary route. It's a far quicker route to get the job done. But long as you're committed and you're righteous and you come proper, people will support you. Because sometimes the colonial structure is so entrenched, it's going to take you another 200 years to overcome it. So we understand that. And in terms of the school system, I agree that the school system, and not all approach will help. You know, even the teaching online will help. All these things will help. There's a lot of distraction right now in our society, especially with social media.
Amen to that.
This is the one time where I see social media really work for our benefit, where globally we was able to use that media to organize, to mobilize, to rally, to march globally. That's a very good use of social media, because the mainstream media actually white out the whole operation. Total whiteout.
And as you mentioned about the whiteout, because I mentioned about the march recently, and someone said, "Oh, I never see anything about that. Can it be verified?" I haven't heard it from BBC or ITV. I said, "This is what you said."
You see,
can it be verified?
it's a situation, man. So action now. J.A. Wagwan. Me not hear from you. You quiet,
Yeah.
so.
A bit distracted.
Oh, okay,
Oh, you
okay.
got distracted. You got distracted.
You're a bit distracted. Not in a bad way, but in a good way.
Yeah. We don't want to feel like
yeah.
we leave you out of the conversation, because I can go on for hours, so me just go on easy, So.
Yeah, but you're definitely right. We have to do the Jehovah Witness work for true. You understand? Because as to Antwain's point, right now the system needs some serious Jamaica political, social, all of these systems need some serious change, right? But the persons who are in the system, the politicians and their friends, they don't have the will. It is not going to benefit them to change the system, because the system right now as is benefits them, right? So they're not going to change that. You see me I say? So we, the people, who the current system is not benefiting. The fight is our fight, The fight is our fight. You understand? We have to take the bold step that IBRHAIM Traore is taking now. The Jamaican people, we will have to determine, say, hey, the system right now is not in favor of us. Cost of living is too expensive. Cost of living is too high. You understand? You have to feed your children. Education is too expensive. That is why the country is so illiterate. You understand? Because to go to university, to even make it through high school, you understand? It is expensive. You understand? The books that are used, they're expensive. You understand? Education is expensive. So you have a nation of dunce. You understand? And then these people who are not critical in their mindset, they go around easily manipulated by these politicians. These politicians are able to manipulate them and deceive them, right? And that is why the political status quo will not do much for education, because the moment you educate the nation is the moment they lose power or they lose control of the nation. You understand? So the diaspora and Jamaicans who are conscious, we have to do something similar. We have to do something similar to what Marcus Garvey did. We have to create a communication network. We have to centralize. It's very important. We have to centralize, and we have to do much more media, because media, Marcus Garvey had his own newspaper. You understand? So he was able to send out information about what the UNI is doing and so on and so forth. We also need to copy that blueprint. Marcus Garvey done give the blueprint. You understand?
And there was no social media.
And there was no social media. IBRHAIM Traore is using the same blueprint. You understand? But we, the Jamaican people, Singapore copied our political system, and Singapore is a first world country. What is happening to us as a people? We are divided and we are illiterate.
So therefore, Temi and Brother Delane, and when people are saying that it was not on BBC, it was not on any other mainstream media in the UK, and yet at the same time there was a march all over the place, the importance of the media, and I always say this all the while, because people will say sometimes, oh, I bet you're not going to see this on social media. I bet you're not going to see this on BBC. And I said, why wait for the BBC? Why wait for these different ones when we, if anything happened, what do? We take up our phone and we start to stream.
Yes.
We all want to go viral. Somebody fights, we go viral and everything like that. So therefore, I think the mentality will be people have to start to utilize what we have in our hands, as you say, Mr. Delane, the media, what we have, because a lot of these mainstream media houses, they actually have social media angles whereby they find out from social media what is happening to break their big news these days. So therefore,
it is very, very, very significant. I mean, this coverage that I did of this this global solidarity, it was my biggest view since I had my channel.
Yeah,
because there is a need, there's a thirst for this kind of information, and this kind of broadcasting, whether we know it or not. We have to make ourselves available. When these events happen, we have to push it out. It's our responsibility to push it out because they won't be doing it. I want to ask you, brother, what does the DCP stand for? What's your name, brother?
Uche?
Is action
DC
action now?
Action.
Yeah, what's that question?
DCP.
Or DDP.
Quickly. Yeah.
Or DDP.
DDP.
Oh,
DDP.
DDP. Yeah. What up?
I mean, DDP is all right. I don't want to say a third party, but
What it stand for?
Diplomatic Democratic Party.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are trying as well. We are trying as well to
Actually, you don't strike me as being a diplomat, though.
huh? Yes, I don't strike as being a diplomat. No,
You
man,
don't
I
strike
have
me as a diplomat.
no, man, I have my time when I'm a diplomat, right? But there are times when you have to speak truth to power. You have to be frank. You understand? There's time for diplomacy, but there's also the time when you have to be direct in your communication, right? But I mean, Diplomatic Democratic Party is a third party. We are trying to navigate the hurdles with the ECJ to get our party registered and so on and so forth. But as Antoine says, right, the approval process for a third party by the current PNP and JLP stakeholders in the ECJ is a challenge because they hold the political power and they don't want anybody to come in and to disrupt their happy home. You understand?
Keeping it within the family.
Yeah. So we are navigating the hurdle. But what I really need to happen in this country, because I don't like the idea of creating these number of movements that aim to achieve the same thing. I think we can all sit down at a table, right, together with the same mindset, and then formulate a system how we are going to get ourselves out of this predicament, right? Even if it means to dissolve the Diplomatic Democratic Party and to join with somebody else who is probably more ahead in the struggle, something of that sort. But we have to know.
To do that.
Yes, a coalition. We have to do that, right? But I believe that is also one of the problems we face as a people. We start a movement here and it not go nowhere. The movement is still there, stagnant, and then we'll create another movement over here that suffer the same fate. You understand? We have to break. We have to break that kind of cycle. You understand? We have to get intentional about what we are doing and very strategic about what we are doing as well. You understand?
Yes.
So the diaspora.
Thank you for that, man. Thank you for that. Cause I never know about that part of it.
We are not registered as yet. We are trying to get registered. We are trying to, but the ECJ is an obstacle.
Yeah. And also Antoine is with Antoine. Just remind me again of your party.
The Marcus Garvey's People's Political Party.
Yeah.
We have initiated a coalition, Jamaica Unity Alliance. We are a registered organization, and we have. I mean, you can look it up in the Jamaica Observer and Gleaner. We have joined forces with the different third parties. We have extended arms to UIC, NDM, Up Jamaica, whatsoever, and so much more.
What's UIP? What's UIP? UIP.
UIC.
There's a UIP. Some New York citizen team up with UIP. Does it mean UIC? What is UIP? Uche, Mark, Antoine, you know what is UIP?
No. But
I think it's probably a typo. I think he meant UIC.
I think he meant UIC. Okay, yeah.
But we have
keep talking, Antoine.
Around the table. We have had that discussion about a coalition. We have moved forward from just talk and more action. We have the press release. Observer and Gleaner was there. They carried the article. We were championing constitutional change. But somewhere along the line, the alliance shifted. Why? Because not having a set, clear goal and objective. So now we are in the rebuilding stage where we will send out memorandum or letters to the various groups, third forces, to kind of sit back at the round table and see how best we can move forward. I have tabled in one of our last meeting of doing our own constitution, get
Yeah.
the workforce involved, getting the teachers union, the police, the different third party lawyers, preachers, whatsoever, and create our own constitution. When we do that, we present it to the people via the media, social media, TV, JCVM, radio, whatsoever. Then we do a petition, a poll to see if people accept this constitution and present it to public. So that is just something that is in my head, which I've put it on the table, but it is not yet pen to paper. So we're still doing the coalition, DPP. We're still there. So join us.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and thank you guys so much for coming on. But in wrapping up, I just want a last word in regards to the next stage of how you see the Burkina Faso, IBRHAIM TRAORE, and in Africa. How do you see that outpanning? And is there any more movements that's going to happen? Any more marches? Dr. Delany, sorry, I call it Dr. Delany. That's a nice one, Dr. Yeah. Tell us about the reparation movement as well. Because that's something which is crucial as well, isn't it?
Well, I am a part of the reparation movement here in the UK. I've been involved for many years as being one of the organizers of the African Emancipation Day Reparation March that happens annually on the 1st of August. We call it the 1st of Mosiah every year from Brixton Rinworth Square to Parliament Square. I've stepped back from frontline duty. I've served over 10 years. And there's a new leadership now that's taking over. I'm still operating in the background, but the reparation movement in the UK has actually made significant progress in terms of parliamentary moves. There's an all-party parliamentary group in the UK Parliament that is responsible for drafting reparation proposal to the UK Parliament. Also, there is an annual reparation conference held in the UK. We have had 2 so far, and 1 we'll be planning for this year. So the reparation movement is advancing. There are many many players, many MPs are involved in the actual reparation movement, and it's been guided by a group called the Stop the Mangamizi campaign. They are very active, very powerful, very comprehensive in their approach to African reparations. So there is always a reparation dimension to what we're doing. We see the liberation of African people must have an element of repairing involved, because we must address the damage that was done to our people globally, and the damage physically to our people, to our health, to our psychology, and also for the actual exploitation of our people. We will hold those outside forces accountable. France, the whole of Europe, America will be held accountable for the damage that they have done to our people, but also we have internal repairs that we are responsible for. In countries that we are in control of, such as these neo-colonial countries that we are in control of, we should be in control of the educational system, and we should be bringing forward the reform necessary to repair the culture and the psychology and the missing history of our people. It is our responsibility in the school system that we're in control of to bring forward those things to repair that damage. So that is the how we frame it within that reparative justice format. So there's two types. There's internal and then there's external repair. The external one would be by the international standard set by the United Nations under the right of remedy for crime against humanity. So yes, we will be pursuing that. We are pursuing that, and we will continue to do so. So thank you for this opportunity to present on your show. But our esteemed brother in the Burkina Faso, we're in solidarity with him, but also with the People's Revolutionary Process in the Confederation of the Sahel states. We're also in support of that. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to leave out the element of the people, them coming together to solve their problems collectively and to take control of their resources. So we want to extend our solidarity to all those people in the Sahel who are fighting to regain control of their resources and to free themselves.
Yes. Now, thank you so much for that, and we'll have to do another follow-up in discussion in regards to the reparation bit as well. And Temi, before you go, just your last word, so I can let you have your Saturday. Before we'll get you,
I'll drop the gun, Femi.
before want you to leave before Sunday.
Yeah.
What's your last word?
Thank you for having me on. I think the last word is, it's even bigger than Traore anyway. This is really, it's symbolic of, as I said, people becoming more aware, people becoming more informed, and basically the youth of Africa and the diaspora wanting change. I think that's really, and also having control over their own destiny and not having it being dictated to or snatched away from them by external forces or by internal forces working for external forces. So I think that's really, what must continue.
Yes.
Regardless of who is in power, those are the interests that have to be maintained and work towards.
Someone said on TikTok a while ago.
That's all.
Yeah, someone said on TikTok, talking and marching can't help. Talking and marching didn't stop Palestine. But I think what we are saying is that everything plays a part. Everything plays a part in the whole process. Antoine,
it does play a.
Yeah. Thanks, Timmy. If you have to go.
If you look at Vietnam and what happened, and what ended up changing in Vietnam, all those protests within America against the Vietnam War, so had played a role in the fate of what happened and how America was defeated in that war. And right? Because popular opinion, popular opinion counts. The will of the people does count, because at the end of the day, even with governments, if you've got billions of people who actually are seeing, things for what they are, there's very little that you could do. And that's where we need to get to. It's basically about educating each person or enough people as possible. Change can be made.
And even the action by Muhammad Ali did play a part as well. You might look
absolutely.
Influence, Tell me,
absolutely.
anytime you want to go, you can go. Antoine, any last word?
Hear me?
Yes, sir. Any last word before you wrap up? Yeah.
Yes, before I go, IBRHAIM TRAORE, Burkina Faso, has set the trend, I believe, for all African countries. And we in the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, should follow that trend. Why? Because they said that they have given us independence in 1962. And we still have a governor general. And at the opening of every parliamentary meeting, they swear to the king. So we in Jamaica demanding true independence under constitution that is written for, by, and from the people. So those are my few words. Thank you for having me that far.
Thank you so much, Antoine. Much appreciated for so short notice as well for joining. And Action JA, Mr. Diplomat. Bye
Yeah.
bye,
So,
Timmy. Bye, Timmy. Take care.
bye, Tammy. Take care.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
care.
So
Bye.
we are still standing with IBRHAIM Traore, right? And I want us to not just. I think it is a bit unfair if we don't acknowledge the president of Niger and also the president of Mali, right? Because again, due to the Sahel states, they are pretty much on the same page in terms of development for their country, right? Senegal, just the same, has decided to probably step away from the CFA franc. So most African, Francophone African countries are hinting at doing some things to disrupt, the colonial ties to their country. So we have to also, shout out these presidents who are, about to take these bold steps as well. Not just IBRHAIM Traore,
Yeah,
right?
support.
But we also must highlight the other presidents who are making these bold moves, or will be making these bold moves in the future, right? But we stand with IBRHAIM, what he's doing so far, and in Jamaica, we are hoping for something of this nature. I don't see any military rule in this country because the politicians managed to, control the JDF and the JCF. It's just a monopoly. It's what you call it, cronyism, nepotism kind of thing happening in the country, right? But we stand firm. And Mr. Sidial, I hope that you can one day on your show accommodate the third party movements so that we can have a holistic conversation. You understand? Let us see where what the indifferences are and see how best we can chart a united course going forward. Because again, there are various movements in the country. Again, the goals are the same. We want a country that is independent, a country where the people are proud to call themselves Jamaicans, and we stop killing each other and stop acting so backward. You understand?
Yeah.
But creating various movements is going to make that process more difficult. You understand?
Yeah.
So we need a discussion.
A joint up thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice being on your show tonight, right? And
yes, boss.
joining with your panelists and your audience as well. Big up.
Thank you so much. Sir Delani?
Yes, I just want to say one final thing, that if people want to follow me for more insightful analysis, I'm available on Clear Thinking with Brother Delani on YouTube and also on TikTok. So Clear Thinking with Brother Delani for more insightful, clear analysis. I'm standing on the shoulders of all my great honorable ancestors.
Okay, Clear Thinking. Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, we'll follow.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. Thank you very much for having me on your show, and it's been a wonderful interaction and discussion. And I enjoyed interacting with everyone tonight. It's been nice. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll put it up the banner there, which is Clear Thinking with Brother Delani. Ladies and gentlemen, you can check that out there on his channel.
Thank you.
There it is. Clear Thinking, which is definitely. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I'll have Miss Jeanette Calder talking about civics and accountability, which is something I believe it is important that we use all different areas, all different avenues that we can educate persons. Sometimes these things are small fires. They don't start big, they start small and they get big, building. So tomorrow, Civics and Constitution, episode 4. Episode 1 was with Miss Joanne Simpson, the author of Civics. Episode 2 was with Mr. Matunda McCullough former acting public defender in Jamaica, and the topic was on civics and civics and citizenship. And Professor Rosalie Hamilton, a couple of weeks ago, it was civics and the Constitution. And during the course of that time, I'm hoping maybe, who knows, Uche can maybe even lecture on a particular bit.
You got some heavy hitters on your lineup there.
Yeah, I have a massive lineup, you know. Even
Yeah,
Simon Woolley from the UK, I'm trying to get him to come on, Lord Simon Woolley, to have some discussion on it, because I believe, Brother Delany and Action Now, and ladies and gentlemen, I believe that so many people are on social media. Everybody's on social media, and yes, I agree with Antoine that yes, people need it. People need to actually have that one-to-one interaction, but the reality is that that's not happening a lot these days. You know, people are on this, and therefore, if we can bring the information to this and try to somehow wake up people, you know, especially with the IBRHAIM Traoore, especially with Burkina Faso and what is happening around the world, I believe we need to actually take advantage of all these different avenues.
Multiple ways. There's no one way no more. Multiple ways.
Multiple ways. You know?
I think you can probably try to target the JTA as well, Mr. Sidial. The JTA.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you can target them to have it pushed into the education system. I think if we can get the president or have conversations with teachers, right, so that part of the conversation can take place. Because if they are able to pressure civics in school, then the government will just have to bend, because you understand, just so the thing go. So you can probably try to think about that avenue as well.
Yes.
So definitely. They don't teach it as a part of citizenship. They don't teach citizenship.
They do, but it kind of
limited.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone just said as long as there's a colonizer education curriculum, more dumb people. Sorry, I'm just reading what the person said. I didn't say it. You know,
speaking for a friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. Those on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you so much. And
yes, Mr. Silver, and stay in touch, because if you need any contacts, I mean, I have plenty.
Virgin, you're up on my phone now, you know. A Virgin, sometimes he come on the show, we ask him, where is he? He said, I'm on the internet. We don't know where in the world is he. He said, I'm on the internet.
So it's been an honor, my brother.
Pleasure's mine. Take care, Brother Delany. Have a good night. Thank you, sir. Cheers. Bye-bye.
I share.
Thank you. Uje? Okay, he's gone. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for coming on tonight. And it was a pleasure and it was an honor. Remember, tomorrow night at 8 p.m., I'll be having Miss Jeanette Calder. Jeanette Calder will be talking on civics and accountability. She's with JAMP, executive director for JAMP. And that's going to be 8 o'clock tonight, just tomorrow night, just for 1 hour. 8 o'clock UK time. That would be 2 o'clock Jamaica time. And that would be 3 o'clock EST time around the world. Okay? So without further ado, I want to thank you so much again. Remember to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel as much as possible. That'd be great. And to all the contributors at the same time. Same guy, Toronto, Joan Blake. I'm 63-year-old. And from now, I'm 63 years old now. And from that time, they stopped teaching civics. Wow. Michelle Clark, what do you read? Certainly not Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal. Michelle Clark, some guy, I actually don't do Google. Oh, you guys having a conversation? You guys having a different show? I don't think I should shut it down, because you guys are having a show over there between Kayla Walters and Michelle. You guys are having a discussion there. I don't want to stop the conversation. Should I go? Let me know if I should go. You guys having a conversation over there. Same guy, Toronto. Thank you for your contribution and thank you for everything. And so without further ado, I think I'll say have a good night. Okay? Peace out. God bless you, and bye-bye.